Okay, everybody, here we go, and it's going to be a wild ride this morning, so just get ready for it. It just happens to be Friday, January 6th, 2023. Before I even say another freaking word here, I want to talk about what came out of the mouth of another thing that dwells among the halls of the Federal Reserve, public enemy number one. So there's a certain individual out here, Fed President Bullshit, okay, Bullard. Fed President Bullard. This guy is floated out very frequently as a mouthpiece for the Federal Reserve to try to convince you that the Federal Reserve has your back. They're trying to do the right thing here. What he said just this morning, really, it's laughable. And I want to cover it because it's more of the same. It's just more lies and tales and fakery and distortions of the truth. So I want to tell you what he said and what's actually the truth behind what he's trying to tell you. Okay, here we go. So Fed President Bullard, bullshit, wants you to believe that right now the money supply is actually contracting. It's shrinking. Okay, we know this is a complete falsehood. The money supply is ballooning, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But he went out of his way to say, and whenever a Fed president goes out of their way to tell you something, to make it a point, you know that the polar opposite is generally true. So this guy went out of his way, bullshit, to tell you and me, or try to inform us that the money supply is contracting. And you can see this, if you want to, by going right to the Federal Reserve's website and opening up a chart of the money supply, more specifically the M2 number. Okay, which is supposed to be a measure of the money supply. But what he won't tell you, Fed President Bullshit, is the M2 number is calculated in using three major metrics. Number one is it looks at the money in circulation, or the cash in circulation. Number two is it looks at cash in bank accounts. Number three, it looks at cash in money market accounts. What do you and I know is happening right now, and it's no secret? The savings rate is now in the negative. People have been pulling cash out of their money market accounts and their bank accounts just to try to make ends meet. Meanwhile, they're borrowing beyond their eyeballs. Credit card debt, household debt, personal debt is ballooning. So here's the illusion here that Fed President Bullshit is trying to distract you from. So he, again, is saying, look at the money supply. It's coming down. But what he's not telling you here is, again, the savings rate in the negative, going deeper into the negative. People are pulling their cash out of these accounts. So the illusion here is that the money supply is contracting. All that's going on here is, well, what do we know? Bank deposits are negative, okay? No loans, no deals. So it's fakery. It's another way to trick you into believing that something is real, which it is not. We also are very keenly aware, you and me, of what central banks are doing. None more so, again, and I love saying that, than the Federal Reserve. Another $2 trillion, almost $2 trillion in spending with war, hundreds of billions of dollars to fund an expanding war and every other project. So they want you to believe that all this cash, it's just miraculously not showing up anywhere. Of course, it's not going to show up on the M2 or on the money supply because of how it's calculated. It's an illusion. Nothing is what it seems to be. You understand? So this just kind of dispels the whole crock of crap line out of Fed President Bullard that the money supply is contracting. And this is a great sign because it's going to eventually affect inflation. No, the Fed continues to go out of its way to inflate. What's the job of a central bank? How does a central bank gain power? By inflating and inflating and inflating, and they're not going to stop here. If he really wanted to contract the money supply, Fed President Bullard and his other freaks over from the Federal Reserve would have the major financial institutions raise their capital reserve requirements, but that's not going to happen. Why? Well, because, again, central banks want to inflate. So I hope I explained this to you, okay? It's an illusion here. How the M2 or the money supply is calculated is being used as another weapon against you. He's not explaining to you, again, that banks are in trouble here. That's a fact. And we know this because deposits are in the negative here and people are pulling their cash out of these institutions. Okay, henceforth why you're seeing the graph of the M2 drop. This is the lack of savings and people pulling cash out of whatever accounts they have just to try to make ends meet in this free fall environment. You understand? I wanted to get that out of the way just real quick because some things really get to me and that's it. But you see, most people have no idea. How many people would really understand or even probably know how the money supply calculation is used, that it does include bank accounts and money market accounts, which are being depleted because people need cash now. You understand? I think you really do. So we got this couple of interesting things today. Another falsehood. This payrolls number today came in better than expected here. We're creating jobs. Really? We have these major corporations laying people off by the tens of thousands, okay? But this is another complete falsehood. It's a deception on a grand scale, and you shouldn't be surprised. Because I told you the theme for 2023 was going to be that these tails were going to get taller and taller. We also found out that people are earning, the pace, at which earnings are rising is slowing down as well. Meanwhile, inflation continues to rise. So we have an environment here where people are continuing to be crushed to death by a central bank who has declared war. The Federal Reserve, in fact, all central banks, but again, none more so than the Federal Reserve, it's the truth, has declared war on the people of the United States and people of the world. Where is the revolt? I don't see it. Why is there a wall being built around the Federal Reserve right now? Because they're afraid that people are going to revolt, and they should do that because there is a war. The Federal Reserve has declared war on the people by continuing to inflate, to float out people like Fed President bullshit, to lie to you, to tell you tales that are taller than the new Freedom Tower. Freedom Tower? Yeah, really? What are you free to do? Oh, you're free to be a serf. You're free to be a slave. Oh, I forgot. Yes, exactly true. So on the back of this supposedly great jobs number that we got, which is completely false because we know the truth here, layoffs are getting out of control and they're going to get much, much bigger moving forward. Right out of the mouth of the Federal Reserve, who said that unemployment is going to rise moving forward. But okay, but apparently a miracle has happened and the polar opposite as to what they said is going on. It's not true. And the pace of what people are earning is slowing down, which is exactly what the Federal Reserve wants. It's a war. The Federal Reserve has declared all-out war on you if you're a member of the middle class, and you're being eliminated and exterminated on a truly monumental scale. With that said, stock futures are higher this morning. The 10-year yield has dropped a little bit. Okay, we need to keep our eyes on this. The MMRI, let's see what happens with the MMRI today. The fact that the 10-year yield has dropped would weigh into the MMRI dropping, but the dollar strength on a relative basis, people know what I'm talking about, on a comparative basis, it looks like I have to go back to saying that again, is higher. So there's a compensatory mechanism that exists. You all know about this if you've been with me for any length of time. Look, the way I outline things for all of you should make the environment and the situation crystal clear. Let me ask you this. With regard to Fed President Bullard, do you trust a word that comes out of the mouth of any Federal Reserve president or the Federal Reserve chair? So when they go out of their way to try to get you to focus on something, oh, look, the M2, oh, it's dropping. And you can see it because it's on our chart. But he won't tell you how it's calculated. They're not going to tell you that deposits are in the negative here. The banks are hurting here. Banks are suffering. As a matter of fact, banks are in a lot of trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. No deposits, no deals, no loans. But they have a main line right to the Federal Reserve, who will, of course, reliquify these banks, but you're not supposed to know that that's also massively inflationary. See, they're doing everything they can, central bankers right now, who are the enemy. They are the enemy, all right, to try to convince you that their actions here are for you and I. No, nothing could be further from the truth. These institutions here are on a mission to fulfill their end game, which is to inflate, which is to own the world, which is to lend cash to whoever asks for it in any amount, which will make them stronger. You understand? That's the situation. Gold and silver right now catching a bid. Cryptocurrencies right now under some pressure. Crude oil slightly higher this morning. That's where we stand. Now, I was writing down the first thing I wrote down today, the first thing I wrote this morning is the central banks have declared war on we the people. And what are we going to do about it? You and me? We're going to try to raise awareness, but people are going to do nothing. They're going to sit back and allow these institutions, the Federal Reserve, to destroy them. And I think that's pretty freaking obvious here. Let's see. I told you about bullshit. I told you about the supposed jobs that we're creating, which we're not creating any. But again, they need you to believe that falsehood. And they also want you to believe that it's a good thing. I want you to think about this. It's a good thing that the pace of what people are earning has dropped. Okay. In an environment where inflation continues to rise. Only in an upside down, twisted freak show would this in any way, shape, or form be a good thing. But meanwhile, stock futures are higher across the board, rather substantially. I'm looking at it right here. Is it going to last? Who freaking knows? We need the illusion of stability in the debt market for this market to do anything meaningful. We need the MMRI to drop. You saw that chart I showed you yesterday? I made you look at the MMRI. If we get a spike here in the MMRI, no amount of fake news, okay, is going to change the fact that this market is going to take a big, fat, ugly hit. You understand? Understand the risk. Okay, you have a fantastic tool to gauge risk in this market. It's called the Mannarino Market Risk Indicator, free to everybody on this planet who wants to utilize that resource. Link in the description of this video. I believe personally, people, that this video has been exceedingly important. I've explained things to you I think you're not going to hear anywhere else, and it should shed a little light on the tales, the deceptions, the lies, the distractions. 2023, mark my words, the year of more lies, tales, deceptions, distractions, and falsehoods. And what else did you expect in this environment? This guy here loves you a lot. People, please comment. Please share this video. And let me know if you think this was important. Because truly, I think it's probably one of my most important videos I've done in a long time. I'll see you later.